Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. Welcome back, sisters. Right up next is our segment, Her Reviews. In this segment, we take a peek at a variety of items for your interest, and today we will be looking at The House of Ibn Kathir by Nazia Jalali. Wow, it's an interesting fiction book. And I personally, when I first read it, I thought I was in for a treatise on the scholar Ibn Kathir when I first heard about it. But it's so far different, and subhanAllah, it's a really interesting read. What did you think about it? And what is it about as well, if you could tell our viewers?
I have to say, even though I'm not 11 years old, I really enjoyed this book, mashallah. The characters are all very different, and it kind of surrounds four groups, a group of four boys who are all friends, and they share a room at this academy. And the main character wasn't happy about coming into the academy, moving away from home for the first time when he's in year 7, and you can kind of understand the sort of, you know, angst of being away from home and family, not knowing anyone. So it's really nice, and also that each and every character is just so international. You have, you know, you have Warsoma, yeah, who I believe is Somali, and then you have Daoud, who I think is Welsh, and mashallah, the teacher, one of the teachers is an Irish revert as well, and it's really nice because it brings together the reality of what a Muslim community is like, that diversity within the Muslim community, especially in this country, and also that each and every character has their own sort of temperament and personality. And I like that one of the boys in this book, he kind of reminds me of Umar ibn al-Khattab in his character, because he's very fiery, and he's very sincere, and I have to say, mashallah, I really enjoyed this.
It was really interesting, this book, in terms of whether the setting is in Hastings. Can you imagine Islamic boys' school in Hastings? And it's a colourful mix of characters and teachers as well. What I found very interesting about this book was the fact that it was kind of mirrored on a sort of Hogwarts sort of plot. There's like 4 different houses, and they're all named after reputable scholars, like the House of Abu Hanifa and the House of Ibn Majah, and incorporating the importance of our Islamic heritage as well was very interesting as well. What do you think about this, Sister Liz?
Yeah, I think it's a really important point that you mentioned about the 4 houses and how they're named after the eminent scholars in Islamic history. And actually, I think maybe one of the downsides I would say about the book is for non-Muslims, I think it would be quite heavy going. Although there is a glossary of there's a glossary of I think 70 Arabic words at the back, and there is an appendix which tells you a little bit about the 4 scholars whom the houses are named after. I do think it possibly might be a bit, hard going, sort of getting on top of all of that, and the plot line as well, especially for sort of younger children.
Yeah, definitely. And the readership isn't just for obviously young boys as well. I think there definitely is a sort of market for sort of Muslim young boys to be able to get books that sort of mirror their experiences as well, because we found a lot of Muslim literature that's based around women, experiences of young girls. What was very interesting also about this book was the fact that you have these ideals, Islamic ideals coming through, and the boys learn this, and it's not just a question of having, of course, glossary words to indicate this is an Islamic book, but they are actually, as they're growing, picking up Islamic ideals which are very important, such as integrity and leadership and brotherhood and forgiveness as well. For me, I wish it could have been a bit longer, because I'm a bit of a bookworm, or as my dad used to call me, a Booker Washington. I wish it was really long, a bit longer, but mashallah. And it would be nice and interesting to see the boys grow, because they are in year 7, isn't it? So we like to, I personally would like to see them, sort of a sequel of some sort, inshallah, maybe even a female version of this.
I found that this is really nice, because even as an adult reading this, it kind of reaffirms everything that you've learnt, and mashallah, trying to look at it from a child's perspective as well. What does this mean? Like we were discussing it earlier, one of the characters keeps seeing sort of the inscription above the school library and always pondering on what it meant. What does it mean? What does it mean? Until an older student came and explained it to him. It's really nice that they learn so many things, about the hadiths, about the ayahs, what they mean, and even how to implement it in the situations that they're in. So it's absolutely brilliant.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's not just about having Islamic terminology. It's about showing that through the plot, showing that through the characters, and definitely sending out that message to the person who's reading it that this is important and we need to implement these ideals.
It's true, and you know, I mean, I really like that bit because you go on the journey with the character, and so you know what he's learning, you feel that you're learning as well. And actually, for me, I learnt some things that I didn't know as well from reading this book about Islamic history. You know, for example, in chapter 7, it's called The Fig Tree, and it's about the grave of Imam Nawawi and the tree that grows over it. And this was, you know, I was learning about this for the first time, so that was really nice. I loved that.
Yeah, isn't it? It's like all sort of anecdotes and interesting facts about Islamic history that comes up, and it's something that I think would be quite interesting to see in other books as well. But yeah, it was a fantastic plot. But as I said, I wish it was a bit longer.
Do you know one thing though? Before I started reading it, I thought, oh, it's all just going to be all just positive. There's not going to be anything sort of within the plot. Do you see what I mean? There weren't going to be any twists. It was all going to be very predictable. It was all going to be nicey nice. But actually, you do get some sort of twists in the story, and also you do see that some characters sort of, you know, trip up a little bit in their Islamic character.
But you know what the nice thing is, even when the characters trip up, again, you kind of see them, you know, learning from their mistakes, and you know, we all make mistakes. So how do you deal with that? And that's a really valuable skill for young people to learn. So I can imagine for like a young 11-year-old reading this and thinking, oh yeah, you know, I was in trouble at school last week, and you know, I could have dealt with it in this way, and I could have dealt with it much better, and or you know, if it happens again, I'm going to do more like this character did. So I really liked that.
Having read this book, are you the kind of sisters that like to sort of get straight into the story, or do you like a little bit of a build-up? Because I like a bit of a build-up, and I found that with this book, it wasn't necessarily the case. We just find that, you know, he's going straight. We learn that he's going straight to a school, and you know, they get ready, and then he's there. So I was a little bit, you know, a bit disappointed with that personally. But once we got into the plot, you know, I found that it was pretty.
It's really good,
cool.
But then again, we have to remember it is for younger kids. So I think for them, it's to capture that attention span. Because if you leave it, like for us, we're saying we like that build-up. For kids, they don't want much of a build-up, otherwise they lose interest, isn't it?
They want to get straight into the action, which I think this book does really good. And you know, the other thing you know, I like, you know, when you're reading a book and you kind of read the descriptions of the place, and you know, it describes the orangery, the big room that they all go and sit in the prayer room and things like that. I could really visualise that in my head, and I love that when you can really feel like you're there.
Exactly. You can see yourself in the story. But I'm not going to speak for the review anyway. We've come to the end of the show, but don't worry, we'll be back next week, Monday, for our marriage series. We'll be looking at difficulties in finding a spouse, the nikah and walima, as well as ingredients in creating a happy marriage. So for all you singletons and married sisters, watch this space. It should be a great week. If you've missed any shows, tune in this Sunday at 11 a.m. for all the best bits of Women's AM. Just before we go, here's a reminder of our weekly competition.
This week on Women's AM, we are holding an exciting competition for you sisters out there. Up for grabs are these free beautiful hijabs and accessories from Tassels. To be in with a chance to win these fabulous goodies, all you have to do is answer the following question. Who was the first ambassador of Islam? A. Sa'd ibn Mu'ad, B. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, C. Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib radiallahu anhu, or D. Masood ibn Umar radiallahu anhu. To enter, email your answer A, B, C or D to Women's AM at islamchannel.tv, along with your name and address and what you most like about Women's AM. The deadline for the entry is Friday the 14th of March 2014 at 4 p.m. All applicants need to be over 18 and residing in the UK. Please note, only one entry per household. This week, 3 winners will be randomly selected from all correct entries, and the winners' names will be announced on Monday's show. So get entering.
Your emails, comments and tweets have been very encouraging, so Jazakumullah khairan, and thank you for sending them in. Jazakumullah khairan to all the sisters on the panel, especially our guest sister Shazia Salim, who was with us earlier, and all those who called in as well. Until next week, have a wonderful weekend. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.